Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. You know those raccoons we see in our backyards? They're clever, they're curious, they're kind of cute, right? Well, what if I told you that behind that charming little mask, they could be hiding a pretty serious and totally invisible danger? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the raccoon's dangerous secret. I mean, look at them. They're everywhere, right? So woven into our neighborhoods. But that amazing adaptability they have, well, it's got a dark side. Turns out, they're often carrying a hidden passenger, a tiny little stowaway that can have absolutely devastating consequences. So, what exactly is this hidden danger? Okay, so that unseen passenger is a type of roundworm called Baylisascaris. And in this explainer, we're going to dig into what it is, how it works, and, this is the big one, why knowing about this parasite is so important for keeping you and your family safe. All right, so what exactly are we talking about here? Well, Baylisascaris is an endoparasite. Endo just means it lives inside its host. And here's the kicker. This isn't some simple single-celled protozoa or bacteria. Nope, this is a metazoan, a multicellular organism. It's a tiny, complex animal. So don't think of it like a germ. Think of it more like a microscopic worm with its own body systems. And it's that very complexity that makes it so dangerous. So let's meet the key players. The one we're really focusing on is Baylisascaris procyonis. That's the raccoon roundworm. But it's got some relatives you should know about. There's Baylisascaris columnaris, which you'll find in skunks, and Baylisascaris transfuga, which, you guessed it, infects bears. Each one has its own specific primary host, the animal where it really wants to live and grow up. Now, to really get a handle on this threat, we have to look at the parasite's life cycle. And trust me, it's like a perfectly designed blueprint for invasion, something that's been fine-tuned for thousands of years. So let's break down how this little invader actually works. Okay, this diagram lays it all out. It shows the parasite's two-part strategy. See that red loop? That's the main plan, the life cycle inside its definitive host, the raccoon. That's where it grows up and makes more of itself. But that blue loop, that shows a much darker path. That's what happens when an accidental host gets involved, like a mouse, a bird, or even a person. And for those hosts, this journey doesn't end well at all. It's a path of pure destruction. Let's boil this whole thing down into 4 key stages. It's pretty straightforward, really. First, an infected raccoon passes millions of microscopic eggs in its poop. Second, those eggs just hang out in the soil or wherever for about 2 to 4 weeks, kind of powering up until they become infective. Third, another animal, the host, comes along and accidentally eats these eggs. And finally, once inside the new host, the eggs hatch and the tiny larvae start to move. And this is where it all begins, at a level you can't even see. On the left, you've got this single, tough-looking egg, and on the right, that's the larva breaking out. This is the moment, right here. This is when the parasite goes from just waiting around to being an active invader, ready to start its journey through living tissue. And you won't believe how tough these eggs are. I mean, listen to this. The eggs are notoriously hardy. They can survive harsh winters, freezing temperatures, and most common chemical disinfectants, remaining viable in the soil for several years. Seriously, they're like tiny armored tanks. They can just sit in the soil for years. Which means a raccoon latrine, a spot in your yard, or maybe a sandbox that raccoons use as a toilet, can stay dangerous long after the raccoons are gone. Okay, this is where things get really serious. This is the part of the story we absolutely need to understand. What happens when this parasite's life cycle crosses paths with ours? What happens when a human being becomes the accidental host? So, inside a raccoon, the parasite knows exactly what to do. It follows the script, makes its way to the intestine, and becomes an adult. Simple. But inside a person, the larvae are completely lost. It's like they're in a foreign country without a map. They can't complete their life cycle, so they just wander. And as they wander aimlessly through our bodies, they cause a whole lot of damage. This wandering causes something called larva migrans syndromes, and it's as bad as it sounds. If a larva gets into the eye, that's ocular larva migrans, and it can cause permanent vision loss. If it travels through your organs like the liver or lungs, that's visceral larva migrans. But the one that everyone fears the most is neural larva migrans. This is when the larvae get into the brain and spinal cord, causing severe and often fatal neurological damage. So you might be asking, why is it so severe? Well, here's a truly scary fact about Baylisascaris larvae. They don't just migrate, they grow while they do it. They can get up to 2 millimeters long, which is actually pretty big for a parasite larva inside you. So you've got these relatively large worms moving aggressively through delicate tissue, causing a huge amount of straight-up mechanical damage. It's brutal. And look, this isn't just a problem in one specific place. Nope. Thanks to people moving raccoons all over the world, this parasite is on the move too. So let's zoom out and take a look at just how far this threat has spread.
Okay, check out these numbers because they are pretty shocking. In parts of the U.S. Midwest and Northeast, we're seeing up to 90% of raccoons infected. 90%. In Hesse, Germany, it's even higher, up to 94%. And even in the Netherlands, where raccoons are a newer invasive species, some areas are already hitting around 60%. That is a lot.
And let's take a closer look at the Netherlands, because it's a great example of what's happening. The invasive raccoon population there is growing, especially down in the Limburg province. And it's not just the raccoon roundworm, Baylisascaris procyonis. Authorities there have also found Baylisascaris columnaris in skunks and even Baylisascaris transfuga in zoo bears. So yeah, all three of the major species we talked about are present in the country. All right, so the threat is real and it is spreading. But here's the good news. Knowledge is absolutely our best defense. So now we're going to shift gears to the most important part of this whole explainer, the defense plan. What can we do to protect ourselves and our families?
You know, one of the biggest challenges is actually diagnosing this thing, mainly because it's so rare. The journey usually starts with a sharp doctor who gets suspicious based on the symptoms and the patient's history, like have they been around areas with raccoons? From there, they'll do blood tests known as serology to look for antibodies. If that comes back positive, they use a more specialized test, a Western blot, to confirm it. And in some cases, an MRI can actually reveal the tiny tracks the larvae leave behind as they move through the brain. Wild, right? Since treatment is so difficult, prevention is everything. And the steps are actually pretty simple, but they are absolutely critical. Number 1, don't give wildlife a reason to hang around. That means no feeding them and securing your garbage cans really well. Try to make your yard or home an unattractive place for them to set up a den. And maybe the most important thing of all, especially if you have kids, be really strict about supervising them when they play outside, and even stricter about washing hands with soap and water right after. Honestly, simple hygiene is your most powerful weapon here. So what about the future? Well, researchers are tackling this with something called a One Health approach. It's this really smart idea that recognizes you can't separate the health of people, animals, and the environment. They're all connected. So by tracking the parasite across that whole ecosystem, they can get a much better picture of the risk and figure out how to manage it. It's a much more complete way of looking at the problem.
And all of this kind of leaves us with a bigger question, doesn't it? The story of Baylisascaris is really a perfect, if scary, example of what can happen when our world and the animal world overlap more and more. As our cities keep growing and wild habitats get smaller, you just have to wonder what other unseen challenges like this are out there waiting for us.
By the way, we compiled all the information for this explainer using a Gemini deep search. And if you're the kind of person who likes to go down the rabbit hole and read the original science, we've got you covered. There's a detailed list of all our sources in the Notebook LM document, and we've linked that for you right in the description. So there you have it, a look into the raccoon's dangerous secret. I really hope you found this explainer helpful and, maybe a little empowering. If you thought this was valuable, please do subscribe to the channel for more deep dives just like this one. And hey, let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.